You might wonder at this time, what is yours to do? And we would suggest that the inner healing work to create inner freedom out of the triangle of disempowerment, out of the collective paradigms of fear, is actually powerful work that can bring about a shift in human consciousness when we do it collectively. So tune into this conversation. It's the first one from our Grace Under Fire series. And this one's all about inner freedom to collective healing. Join us to find out more.
Soul Nectar Show, the Soul Nectar Show. You're invited, delighted to discover who you are. Anything is possible if you believe. So join us on this beautiful journey. Soul Nectar Show, Soul Nectar Show.
Welcome to the first live chat in the series Grace Under Fire. And I'm Kerri Hummingbird. I'm joined by Akeem Sami, my partner. And this conversation that we're going to have tonight is about inner freedom to collective healing is the topic. And so thank you for joining us and for being here live and for watching this back and all the ways that you are joining us in this conversation. We're so grateful. And we want to start with a definition of inner freedom.
Yes. Inner freedom is not about escape. It is about capacity to hold. Inner freedom is the ability to choose our response and not the absence of pressure, because it still stays there and it's still present. Inner freedom is what allows us to stay open without being overwhelmed. How we achieve inner freedom has to do with a regulated nervous system. Being able to regulate your nervous system in the middle of all kinds of volatility and reactiveness energy around you. And being able to do this gives you an advantage. When I am not hijacked by fear, rage, or shame, I can think, feel, and act clarity. A free inner life is not passive. It is the ground of wise action.
Yes. And knowing how to regulate your nervous system involves a number of things. It involves understanding the needs of your body to be connected to the earth, the needs of your subconscious to feel safe, and the need of your mind to experience stillness and quiet. And it's also about understanding the impact that events in the outer world have on your nervous system, whether or not you're directly aware of those events. Your nervous system is aware of it, your body is aware of it. And it can cause a fight, flight, freeze, fawn response in you. And so if you've had a day where you don't understand why you can't get anything done, you're not productive and you're just tired, it's probably because you're being impacted by things that are happening in the collective. And so part of regulating your nervous system is having awareness. Awareness about the impact on you personally and your body and from the outer world, and also being able to identify the aspect of you that is most experiencing a trigger based on the harm that's being witnessed in the collective. And knowing how to bring healing to that old internalized trauma might be personal, it might be ancestral, so that you can respond rather than have a fear reaction, because fear reactions put us even further away from our personal power.
Yes, yes. Well, much of what we see in society is unhealed inner conflict, and it's projected outward. So when we reconcile the parts within us, the anger, the grief, hope, responsibility, we stop needing an enemy to feel whole. Inner integration reduces the urge to dominate, convert, or withdraw. The collective reason begins when enough individuals stop fighting themselves and start standing in their truth and their authenticity.
And a lot of people don't realize that we're fighting ourselves. We don't understand that because we're not understanding how interconnected everything is. And so if you're aware of the news and you watch the news or you look at social media, or if your family talks about it or your friends or at work, you might be experiencing some fear, worrying about the future, imagining the worst possible scenarios and tossing and turning at night. And so just take a moment to share in the chat with us what keeps you up at night. You know, is it a sense of foreboding? Is it imagining a worst possible scenario, tossing and turning? And hopefully the chat's enabled. But we definitely would love to see what it is that what keeps you up at night. And, you know, for me and for Akeem, yeah, and I'm seeing like news. If I watch the news, I'm going to be up at night because I'm going to be working with that energy that's communicated through the news, which is usually a blast of fear. And it's really hard to look at the things that are happening right now and feel powerless to do anything about it as well. And to have your parts of you connected to your heart, feeling really impacted by witnessing things in the collective. Like if you're a mother, this past week might have really thrown you off course with the things happening to young toddlers and babies and to mothers themselves. And so it could be really, really causing a resonant energy. And so what we're really looking at, you know, and I'm seeing an uncertainty of the future and fear, so keeping us up at night. And so part of what we're actually witnessing in the collective has to do with the underlying energy of long-standing ancestral patterns and traumas that are ready to be witnessed, felt, and released. And so one way that we can be part of the shift in human consciousness is, yes, like if you see something happening and you want to be part of the movements that are going on, absolutely, you know, get your body involved. But also, we can be part of the shift in human consciousness by going within ourselves and by clearing old patterns, these old patterns that are shared across the whole collective. We are all connected with that human subconscious. And so when we go inside and we clear and heal those old patterns from our inner world, and we heal personal traumas that have been triggered because of those collective things, then we no longer let those patterns hook our attention and drain us of power to the place where we're reactive. So we don't give it our power anymore through reaction. It doesn't mean that we don't respond. We actually can respond with greater strength from a place of regulated nervous system and integrity. We actually have far better and stronger responses from regulation and from integrity. And so a major pattern, for example, we can boil it all down into a pattern we can look at. A major pattern that is unhealed in our ancestral human collective is right now erupting all over the United States. And I would call that aggressive bullying with intent to dominate. And so the pattern of bullying involves one person as the bully who seeks power over another, and the victim of the bullying who loses power to the bully. That's the pattern. And so this is called the triangle of disempowerment. The triangle of disempowerment has three roles: victim, rescuer, and perpetrator. And whenever you hold any one of those positions on the triangle, you have just lost power. So the old paradigm is steeped in the triangle of disempowerment. And because of that, it keeps us feeling like we're powerless, that we don't have agency. There's no other option but to either fight the bullies with more force or be doormats to their desires or usually complain to a rescuer who comes and saves us. So we have there's like a set of things that are supposed to happen. And, when none of those things happen and you've lost power and you're hopeless, that's when you know that that triangle of disempowerment didn't actually give you anything useful to work with.
Yeah. Well, and then also another angle on this, to the question that Kerri is asking earlier, what are you feeling? Noticing all of what's happening out in the world. Is there a piece of you that is possibly saying that you're feeling fine, just fine, and everything's good? Like deeply, like I'm good. I'm perfectly fine. Well, is there a possibility perhaps also that is a mechanism within yourself, a piece of yourself that is called to block out the sensations that are coming from the outer world? The cost of blocking out these sensations, on the other hand, is that you're not able to participate. So the shadow would be indifference. If with everything that's happening and you're able to lock it out with a base emotion and say, I'm good, everything's fine. I know I've faced that within myself. So in my contemplations in that, my share about this is this angle that non-reactivity is a revolutionary act. And it does take lots of energy. This is also part of MLK's nonviolence movement that he learned from Mahatma Gandhi. So it's about non-reactivity. So that took training while you were being physically harmed in the protests of that time, and even the protests of these times, that it's a revolutionary act not to react physically and in kind. Systems of control that depend on predictable reactions is also part in that. And sure, yes, a calm, centered human being is much harder to manipulate. Choosing not to escalate is not weakness. It is strategic compassion. And the inner freedom allows us to interrupt these inherited cycles instead of repeating them. So we're not victims to what's happening, because that's also a part of the old pattern. We're also facing a higher frequency opportunity here, which is making a choice to not react, but respond.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the revolutionary act in some cases, especially when you may feel powerless to do something against some of the things that's happening out there in the world or in your home, or within yourself.
Yes. And it's, these patterns that are being brought to our attention in the collective, and they're getting our attention through our bodies, right? Our body might be quivering. I'm seeing you might feel stress in your body, anxiety, you might have hard time sleeping, might feel anxious, scared to leave your house, getting doomsday predictions, when you're trying to go to sleep. These things are because these are old primal patterns that have been activated in the collective. The pattern of bullying is a very primal pattern. It's, it's, I'm going to take yours for myself, your life, your sanity, your peace, your whatever. And it's a very old pattern. And as we move into the higher brains and higher reasoning that we get to through regulating the nervous system, through grounding, through spiritual practice, when we open up the higher centers of the heart and heart intelligence, then these aspects of us are, they can be quite thrown about by these lower vibrational energies if we haven't healed the traumas within ourselves. If we have healed our connection with those lower vibrational patterns, which are in the bones, they're in the densest place within us, because that's where ancestral trauma lives. That's where karmic stuff lives from our past soul lives, then we know if we're really stirred up and we're really anxious and we're having a big body reaction. First of all, of course you are. There's some crazy stuff going on in the collective. Second of all, take some time to be with yourself, to get some healing, to acknowledge what's happening inside your body, and to regulate your nervous system back into a grounded space, acknowledging what's happened. So it isn't about bypassing it or pretending it didn't happen. No, this is about going deep inside yourself to the place where the trauma has been unresolved within you and clearing that within yourself. Because then that is an act of reclaiming your personal power. When you reclaim your personal power, you can face the bully centered, grounded, self-assured. This is kind of like reminds me of the time that we were in the woods and bear came in the darkness and it was just outside the firelight, right? I mean, bear could kill you, right? So I had this moment of terror, like, oh my gosh, there's a bear. And I'm looking at Akeem like, turn on the lights. Not that that's going to do any good, but probably not. Probably incite the bear even more. So, but I mean, a bear is a thing that could take your life, right? It could terrify you. And I had a momentary reaction of terror. And then I said, I can't do anything about this. I'm going to have to trust. And so it dropped my grounding roots down, relaxed my body, took some nice, deep, regulated breaths. I've practiced regulating my nervous system for decades, dropping myself in to spirit, the hollow bone, and then listening. And the same can be done with bullies. And in this case, with the bear was just really curious. And I got to feel its energy, very sweet energy, giant mama bear, but, didn't want to make her upset. But I got to feel her energy. And I got to have the awe-inspiring experience of feeling what her energy feels like, which is total presence. And so we can, if we're practiced, we can shift in the moment even out of fight or flight and fear. We can recognize it and go, I'm in fight or flight. Okay, drop a cord down, take some deep breaths, ground my nervous system, open my channel, call in my soul, bring it into my cells of my body. Whew, I'm here. And it can happen like that. And what we're really doing is transitioning from fear mind into love mind in that moment. And when we meet the one that's got the pattern of the bullying, and we feel the energy of that, if we no longer have a resonance with that energy, it doesn't mean that we're going to get off scot-free. We saw an example of somebody that was being very grounded and very present and still got killed. So we can't say that that's not going to happen, but what we can say is that we have the opportunity while we're in the human vessel to heal the soul trauma, to heal the past life karmas, to heal the ancestral patterns, to release the matching picture to that bully pattern that lies within us. And then on an individual basis, in normal circumstances, this is what I've experienced, the bully just goes away and picks on someone else because it's not working on you anymore. And so at a collective level, the opportunity is to take all of the power out of the pattern so that it has no more energy to manipulate us at a collective level. And so to make this possible, what we need to collectively do is move into power within and off that triangle of disempowerment. And we need to learn these mastery tools for really bringing ourselves into grounded presence like that, switching from reptilian brain into corpus callosum as fast as possible, getting ourselves back in that God mind, like everything is working out for the highest and best. I'm in tune with what's going on in my surroundings, and I'm not giving it power. And that's the powerful place to stand in because we're aware of what's going on in our environment. It's not super helpful to stick your head in the sand, because then you're not aware of what's going on around you. It's actually really important to be aware, because when you're aware and you move through the triggers, you heal yourself. Now you're able to be grounded and present with the reality around you, which means you can now respond to it rather than react.
Yes. So collective action rooted in inner alignment actually lasts longer. You've heard the saying, the candle that burns the brightest dies the fastest, just like the same with the star, right? Action born from rage would be that, which burns fast and it collapses inward. It implodes even. And action that we foster in this spiritual work that we're talking about is action born from clarity, which sustains your energy. It builds alliances. It adapts without losing your integrity. The question is not actually, what should we fight? It actually is, what are we capable of building together? So a suggestion offered here is make the spiritual work now practical. Meditation becomes discernment. Prayer becomes ethical courage. Healing becomes civic participation. And enlightenment in this era looks like showing up steady when things are uncertain.
And things are uncertain.
Yeah.
And that's true. I think that's, what's the medicine of the day? We've got to look at what's out there in the world around us to determine what's the soul lesson.
Mhm.
What's the
And
optimal? Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, what's happening in our households? Because you're also noticing that, well, at least my observation and things that I've heard from many others that I've spoken with is that they're witnessing a sample of what's happening on the outside, which is total conflict in some cases. And then they're also noticing a conflict inside of their inner homes with their more personal relationships as well. People that you can't have certain conversations with, otherwise it envelops into like an argument. So there's those coffee table conversations. So yeah, this certainly would be that uncertainty, but then also the uncertainty that's happening inside of yourself when you're asking that question, that part of your brain that's determining, okay, do I need to act now? Do I need to sit stable? Do I need to plan collectively or plan ahead with what I'm going to do about this? There's so many conversations that you can have within yourself about what to do next and where to go with it. And
But
so with that,
the answers to that come from that still inner presence.
yes,
The answer of the action comes from the stillness. So first we go into the stillness, and we might only get a moment of stillness. Like, that is how in tune we need to be to really practice this mastery, because we are entering the time of the fire horse. It's right around the corner. It's a little less than a month away. The fire horse in Chinese astrology enters into our space. And I think we're getting a preview about the energies that the fire horse is bringing in and how people might be responding or reacting to those energies moving through them. And it could be quite a wild ride. And so being able to be super practiced at being grounded and centered and clear in yourself could be really, really important in the moment, because you might only have a few moments to respond to something. And so the more practiced we are at getting ourselves from reptilian brain into corpus callosum to get an answer, an instinct, a intuition, an intuitive hit from our soul, a connection in our body, a yes, no. The more practice we are at arriving in that space, the better it is for the results of the interaction that we're going to be facing. And so this is why we're offering we offer really in-depth training in inner medicine community, very, very in-depth training that is 19 months till completion. and it's weekly. And so people go, wow, that's a lot of commitment. And it is, because this is the kind of mastery that we're practicing here. This is life-changing mastery that puts you on a path. It's not a weekend workshop, it's a path. And so we know that's a lot. So we're inviting people to join us for a 30-day experience, much more doable, 30-day experience of the tools of what we're talking about here: shamanic practices, guided meditations, community support. And it's time to cross the threshold. So this is the Ride the Fire Horse experience, is what we called it. And we just invite you to it if it's something that you feel like you'd like to have at this time. We've really worked hard to give you language to reach you where you are and to offer you some solutions for how to make this year easier. We've got some quotes from a lot of our students who love our community and often give a lot of time and effort into our community to support it and growing, because they've received so many amazing benefits from being part of our community. And as part of this, you'll receive the Firehorse Transformation Toolkit, grounding practices, healing practices. We are working with Bear in this series, because Bear helps us get to presence. And that's really important to counter this fiery energy of the wild horse, is to bring in some grounded presence with Bear, some cave. We need some cave. So it's $47 for 30 days. And I will put the link in the show notes, and I'll send it out with the email for those of you who joined us live, so you can check out this offer. And I feel like it's just a really great opportunity to be part of our community and see what it's all about.
Yes. And also being able to activate this intentionality, moving from the freedom of yourself to the freedom of us as a collective. As our inner freedom matures and we get a chance to ask the questions like, what kind of world does my freedom create? And knowing that with my freedom, that ignores relationship becomes isolation. Knowing that freedom that includes relationship becomes responsibility. Collective reasoning emerges when personal liberation is linked to shared consequence, or more so the realization that all of us in one way, shape, or form are sharing consequence with each other all over the world. And creating reason within ourselves. The reason without the soul engagement becomes control. Dr. Martin Luther King also spoke about this, that leadership without heart begets judgment, brutality. Intelligence alone can justify harm, and true collective reason includes logic and empathy, strategy and humility, and facts and lived human experience. So my hope, and Kerri's and I's hope for all of us who are witnessing this share tonight, is to bring forward the wisdom that spiritual maturity means we don't weaponize our knowledge. We bring a heart discernment and share prospering spirit with it, and together.
And so if you're just finding out about us right now and you just stumbled upon this conversation, this is part of a series that we're calling Grace Under Fire. Get ready for 2026. And this is a free live series. And there are talks. Tonight was the first one, Inner Freedom to Collective Healing. The next talk is Friday, January 30th, Being Love Through the Fire. And then February 6th, we're talking about embodied values, living what we believe. Friday, February 13th, we're talking about sacred tools for sacred work. And on Tuesday, February 17th, which is when the fire horse enters the collective, we're talking about from vision to practice. And so that will also be in the email or the show notes, depending on where you joined us from. But we are really, really excited to be offering this to you all and to be doing our sacred work and making our contribution. You know, I saw something from a thought leader today who is a trauma-informed specialist, psychotherapist, and she said that if we take in all of this content that is in the collective, this fear content in the news or in social media or in our neighborhood or wherever we're having these conversations, and then we don't take an action, that actually leads to us feeling a sense of hopelessness. And so we really truly intend that engagement in these conversations and engagement in the fire horse experience in our programs, that this is a way to have some agency with what you're witnessing in the world. That might look different than being in a protest. It might look different than other ways of being engaged, but this is a viable way of being engaged, and we invite you to it. And we also have fun. So, you know, we can have fun while we do this work. So thanks for joining us tonight. And we're so grateful for all of you. We love you very much, and we'll see you next time.
If you found even one gold nugget in this episode of Soul Nectar Show, will you do us a favor? Will you subscribe, like, and share this episode? Maybe even write a comment and let us know what you thought about it. We really, really want to engage with you at a much deeper level. Let's be part of community together. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now. To dive in deeper to nourishing conversation, visit soulnectar.show.
Soul Nectar Show. Awaken, awake to show. Take a sip from the drip of nectar, from the source of who you are. Soul Nectar Show. Yeah, yeah.